Is judging an artist by previous works giving them a fair shake, or should we approach each project with a clear palette? And what sparked that thought was a guy I actually wanted to have on here tonight, but he's at a Guardians of the Galaxy viewing. Lee talked about the Common album and how what you expect from Common you don't get on the album. Have you listened to it yet?
I have not.
Okay, that's fine, because I'm not gonna put you to listen to it except for just like argument's sake. But
Common's music does nothing for me anymore. Like after Finding Forever, it just hasn't been anything I wanted to listen to.
I'll tell you, I agree. After Finding Forever has been a decline, but I mean, that project right after that, I can't remember the name of it, but it was
Universal
horrible.
Mind Control.
Yeah, that one was horrible. I don't know why that even happened. And then Dreamer Believer was good,
but it had the Drake beef involved with it, so nobody was checking for it.
That kind of sullied the whole thing around, especially since he kind of admitted that he beefed with him to promote the project.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, come on, man. Like, either stick to your guns or just don't do that at all. Just let the music speak for itself. And on that project, I thought the production was really, it has ups and downs. Like, No Idea is good, but I couldn't listen to everything on there. But on this album, I like the production more, and Common's raps a lot less. It was like, yeah. I got bored. He bored me to tears. I couldn't really relate to much he was saying. The best song on there to me is Dilla's the tribute to Jay Dilla.
Anything with Common and Dilla is great.
Yeah, anything related to them is going to be great. Pretty much anything related to Dilla that anybody does, except for Charles Hamilton, is going to be amazing. But yeah, like I know Gary tried to listen to it, but he only got like one song in, right?
Yeah, because I had to do other things. So, I was listening on Spotify, and I had to pause it, and then I never go back to listening to it again. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, I can't even really give, like, a fair opinion of it.
That's fine. But I'm sure y'all have had situations where y'all listened to an album by a long-standing artist and kind of judged it based on their older things. I mean, it's in our nature. But do y'all think that should continue to be the same? Like, because, Lupe, I always come back to Lupe, but Lupe is changing up a lot. And I'm getting to the point where if I judge him by his old stuff, it's just going to be a fail every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do y'all think about that?
I personally think that, each album is supposed to be looked at as its own individual body of work. So, you should judge that individual project, but at the same time, it's impossible to forget what that artist has done previously, and that can and will influence your opinion a little bit, when you're judging that album. So yeah, like you said, it's natural, but I do try to look at each album as like an individual body of work and judge it on its own.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that because, like Gary said, each album is an individual body of work, and therein lies the problem. Is like you have artists like Nas who creates like such a great album with his first album, and then every album has to live up to Illmatic, or Kendrick. Every album has to live up to Good Kid, Mad City, whereas people don't give it a chance to, see what he can do on this next one.
That's true. That is true. But all right, so Joe, give me a favorite artist of yours, like
Jay-Z.
right now. Jay-Z. Well, shoot, a lot of people make the argument for Jay-Z because he changes up a lot anyway. But I mean, he made the perfect statement. If you want my old shit, buy my old albums.
Exactly. And
I think I'm leaning that way as I'm maturing with my listening and stuff. I try to take projects for what they are. And I think that's why I like a lot of concept albums, because they automatically put you in that mindset anyway.
Like 808s. 808s is one of my favorite. 808s and Purple Rain are two of my favorite albums ever, and they're both pretty much concept albums.
Yes, that is a perfect example, because when 808s dropped, I hated it at first.
Same here.
But man, I fell in love with that project. Even another example, Andre 3000, Love Below.
Yeah.
If you, I mean, he was always quirky, but you weren't expecting that album from him. And I didn't know what I was listening to the first time I listened to it, but as I got older, I was like, this is an amazing album, if not one of my favorites ever. And it's very different from anything that he's done or probably will do. Like, matter of fact, I don't know if I want him to even do a solo album because it'll probably sully his career, but that's another topic for another day. But, Gary, what's one of your favorites? One of your favorite artists right now, other than 50 Cent?
Other than 50 Cent? Well, you already said Jay-Z, so...
Well, actually, you know what? I'll use 50 Cent as an example. So, how would you feel if 50 came out rapping like Young Thug for a whole project? I know Joe would love that, but how would you feel?
I would be disappointed.
You would be disappointed.
Yeah.
But is it mainly because of how Young Thug raps or the fact that it's not what 50 normally does?
Yeah, I mean, I guess with certain artists, you have an expectation of what the project should be based on their persona, whatever. And, for 50 to kind of like go that direction, that would be so left field that it's like, it's not even acceptable at that point.
Yeah.
So,
I think we'll always be somewhat guilty of thinking of the stuff in the past. Because if you think about it, those past projects are what made us fans. So, of course, we're going to, judge it by that. And
we identify that's how we identify with that artist is
Exactly.
based off of that project we fell in love with. So it's only right, but at the same time you got to give it's a clean slate. You have to give each project at least a listen.
Yeah, I agree. And a big change like that. A good example of that recently was Absol's These Days, because if you even slightly think of the old Absol, you're gonna hate 90% of that whole project. But I can appreciate, not necessarily appreciate, I can understand why he had to do the project that way to kind of gain a following, which I hate that artists have to even do that with like mainstream, but I'm not in their pockets, so it's their money. They got to do what they got to do.